We're building a cabin in York that's got a total of 10 rooms, including 3 bedrooms, and we've got till Christmas to get this done. In our previous video, we built the main frame of the building, we corrected some incorrect cutouts, got all of our overhangs in, built up for this triangular window, brought in these monster 10-metre purlins, hit them home, and got them secured. And in this video, it's time for the rafters. Each one of these rafters has a rafter tie that goes at the very bottom of it. We can't put them on just yet because we're not 100% sure the angle or where they're going to go, so we're going to do those in situ. The spacing for each of these rafters is actually determined by these between rafter pieces, giving us 600mm on centre. Each one of these rafters has a connecting plate that joins the top of one to the top of the other and has to be filled with nails to pass building regulations. We're feeding each one of the rafters for this section in through the window. And we're going to put one end on the top of the wall so it makes it a bit easier for Ben to just lift the other end up to me while I'm up the ladder. And with this section completely loaded out with rafters, we can start lifting them up onto that purlin. What Ben will do now is he'll pass me one end up the ladder and then he will go to the other end with his ladder, and then we'll use the spacings that we mentioned earlier, giving us 600mm on centre for each one of these rafters. It actually turns out we needed one more rafter for this section, so we fed that one in, got it up, and got this section completely finished. With those up and on, I'm going to crack on with some rafter ties. And while I get myself set up with the nail gun, nails, and the rafter ties, Ben's making a start loading out this right hand side of the porch with yet more of the rafters. Each of these rafter ties we're securing with 50mm nails fired from this yellow PPN gun. PPN standing for Positive Placement Nailer, which basically puts nails exactly where you want them. It's basically just a rinse and repeat process now all the way until the very end, and it's where I discovered my first gripe with this yellow gun. It holds a very small amount of nails, which means plenty of reloads. Oh, and it spits bits of plastic at your face by default. And now we've done the rafter ties on that side, we can start doing the rafters on this side, which is a bit easier because we've got another wall to put them on. Where are you going?
I'm not being your cameraman anymore, mate. If you can't say rafters and not rafters.
Oh, whatever. Rafter. With even Meg on the lookout for Ben, I threw the rest of these rafters up by myself because I had a middle wall to catch them. Speaking of Meg, Meg is the farm dog who's got a weird obsession with biting digger buckets. Every time Ben says, and back to Ben, who is currently doing a little bit of spot cleaning after deciding to put the rafters somewhere not so clean and dry earlier. What a naughty man. With Meg standing guard, ready to neutralise any digger bucket threats, we finished off putting up the rafters on this right hand side of the porch. We're only securing them at the top for now. We do need to put the rafter ties on at the bottom, but that's a job for tomorrow. What a difference a day makes. We've gone from grey clouds to blue sky within like 14 hours. We've got all of these rafter ties to put along here, or as Ben would say, rafters, to put along here. Then once that's done, we're going to move on to the back, get that whole section done, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, before we go home today, because it's Thursday, we can get some membrane on, but we'll see. With the rafters at the front all done and dusted, we moved our attention on to loading out this back bedroom, which is going to be the main bedroom. After precariously balancing on these foundation bearers to bring these rafters in, I'm feeling a little bit confident, so I'm going to lift them up myself up the ladder, just having Ben at the bottom end to space them out, keeping everything nice and square for me. Check that out for a nice shaky drone shot. Main bedroom rafters complete, we moved on to the middle section of the back. Got that completely done, and although we didn't get the membrane on today, we were blessed with a last blast of lovely warm sunshine, which was quite nice because our next task after this is we've got this Purlins put up above the porch. A task for Monday morning, I think. It's Monday morning and we've got a problem, and it involves these rafters. When it comes to drawings, it's pretty important that you've got the right ones, and we thought we had the right ones up until Thursday, just gone, when we were sent another set. We ended the week last week having finished all of the roof rafters and realising that we were one short at the back, which was a bit of a problem because after a count up of the new drawings, We've got one too many over here, and we've got one too many over there. Problem that needs solving, so that's what we're going to get on with this morning. Best get the crowbar and a hammer out. There's nothing worse than having to undo all of your hard work, but this was just the tip of the iceberg, which we'll get to later in the video. With that taken down, we put on the connecting plate and put it up in its correct home, and we can move on to the porch, which means we've now got to get this put in up there. Now, even though this was just a fraction of the weight of the main purlins we've put in, it was still quite heavy, but regardless, it went up and in, even if it did need some serious persuasion. Tight is better than loose, I suppose. Well, that went up with plenty of F's and Jeffs. Next thing we need to do is I need to make sure that my end is square with Ben's end over there. And then once that's been squared up, we need to make sure we're level. Also pretty important. And then we're going to fix it through this wall with these screws. And these screws, if you can see, they're a little bit different to the other ones we've been using. They've got a much higher torque rating on them, and they are structural screws, very thick. Let's get it level and zipped in. We then got to work putting in the first of two valley rafters that, by my reckoning, were equally as heavy as that purlin we've just put in, which is where we hit a pretty big problem. When I say problem, I mean pretty big can of worms we've just opened putting that up. Not only we've had to cut the bottom out to allow this to sit in line with the bottoms of the common rafters there. This being 240 millimeters deep, it's already 42 millimeters deeper than the rest of the rafters. So I've got a choice. I can either have the top work lovely, which is an ideal scenario for me, or have the bottom lovely so that the soffit goes on nice. So I'm a bit torn between a rock and a hard place, if I'm honest. And not only that, but the angle of this, where it intersects the corner, when it comes to these smaller rafters up here, the actual angle of it, for me to get them to work with this, the valley rafter is going to have to be right across there, which is not ideal. Not only that, but it doesn't exactly go in the middle of this purlin that's been put in. Not only that, but the rafters on top of the porch are sitting significantly higher than this valley rafter, so we need to lower them. We can't bird's mouth them, because if we do, you lose the structural strength of the timber, meaning that things like uplift resistance is less and decreased, snow load decreased, you know, just structure in general is going to be decreased. So that's not really an option. It has been spoken about lowering this down, but even doing that, it's going to cause even more problems. So right now we are pretty stuck indeed. But while we wait for an answer, I think what we're going to do is end the video there. So if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, tell YouTube you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next Thursday at 7, where hopefully, fingers crossed, we've got a solution.